good. Just to be safe. All right. Before we go tonight, there was one thing that everyone has been asking, and that was, how did my Mario tabletop role-playing game go last night? And I didn't want to give you guys like a story time while I was trying to focus on a game as well, so we're going to have a little story time right here and then close out the game. So, for context, for the past like month or so, I have been organizing and planning a IRL, in-person tabletop role-playing game for some friends, specifically to emulate Mario. My normal play group, which is online, have been playing a system called Steel and Spirit, which is a hack of lasers and feelings, and we've been getting a lot of mileage out of it. And I have had a Mario kick, as evidenced by Super Sunday, and I thought, you know what, I want to run a game in the Mario universe. And I have a bunch of people who I want to run a game for, IRL, so why not combine the two into one project? Well, it took a while. I ended up having to spend a significant amount of time preparing the food and getting props. I printed off and cut out paper craft, question mark blocks. You probably saw on my various social media that I've been making power-up cards to represent online friends exist in real life too. Well, not until I see you. For all I know, you're catfishing me. You know? I refuse to believe you're that pretty in real life, Tegan. You're gonna have to come visit me and prove me wrong. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of prep, a lot of over-the-top stuff. I ended up buying like 3D printed Yoshi coasters for drinks, even though we've had no fucking coasters in this house until then. I have bought multiple mugs, got an N64 mug, got a Warp Pipe mug, just for the event, and no one fucking actually used them. They all brought their own drinks, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine, I guess, sure, whatever. So I kind of went ham on it. I've actually started printing out and cutting up paper cutouts of Mario characters and putting them in little stands so I have like little miniatures for future games. So I've been going all out of my way for this. But I've been enjoying myself, and that's what matters. At least you didn't have to wash the mugs. I still made plenty. I made plenty of stuff. If you follow me on Twitter or join, not JoJo stands, Raglan, like little plastic little standees to put your paper characters in. No JoJo's. Or maybe there's JoJo's. I don't know. So I prepared this whole thing, and last night was part 1 of 2. I planned out a 2-shot. And if you guys were here, I want to say it was last week, I did a lot of game prep where actually, you know what? Let's zip back over here and let me actually pull up the game prep that we did. Let's change. Where's the capture? Let's turn this off. And let me actually plug my second monitor back in now that we're done playing the Marios. So I can have a separate monitor just for the stuff that I pulled up. Come on, go in. There we go. All right, let me turn on. Oh, my computer is taking a moment to figure its shit out. I'm going to close that. I'm going to pull you back up. I'm going to move you over. It's fine. Close this. We're going to do a display capture. Oop, not that display, my friend. There we go. You figured it out. You want to turn these off as well. Okay, so last time we talked about the game, we made this document. We did it in MS Paint because, of course, we did. And I talked about the 4 primary events and how, depending on how the party interacted, we would cycle between them, and the content would change depending on the party's actual actions. So the major ones were, the initial starting point is going to the castle, meeting the NPCs, establishing the game, and then eventually they were going to get to the keep where the princess is being held, and they'd fight through it in order to save her. And then we had 2 optional events where they either had to travel from the castle through the forest to reach the keep, or they hopped on the airship as it was kidnapping the princess and were brought to the keep. Either way, they were going to start here, either go through this or this, and then the next week they'll go through this, right? That's the plan. And we did a lot of talking about like different NPCs we were going to use and what they would have to do. We talked about like the main NPCs they would interact with. I went through and I actually wrote up an entire like round by round directives for how they would fight Kent C. They didn't. They avoided like the majority of the content that I wrote. But that's okay. That's all right because they made choices and those choices mattered and those choices changed how the event took place. Well, first of all, let's talk about the characters, okay? So Kaiju still played Princess Juniper, who is the princess whose birthday party gets crashed, right? Their abilities include commanding, hypnotizing creatures. They have a little thumb piano that they play music on, and they can cast a hypnotic colors. Fish Fondler played Ukiki, who is an Ukiki and is a monk, and their gimmick is they steal things and stun people. Ukiki wants to be famous, so they're going around trying to do hero work, but because they are a monkey, they kind of fuck it up. So, like, they established that at the point in the story where we begin talking to them, including them, they had already tried helping out people in town, but had already gotten a small reputation for, like, being a fuck-up. So they went to the castle specifically to try to find more good stuff to do. Both Seth and Kaiju's Boo completely changed their characters. So all of this shit means absolutely nothing. And I'm going to tell you Seth's character first, because fucking this guy, this motherfucker right here, derailed the entire game. It was only one fucking night. Seth played, and if there's any children in the audience, I apologize, but his legal name is Dick Fart the Gengar. Before the game proper started, he asked for a scene to explain how this Gengar, Dick Fart the Gengar, ended up glitching from the Pokemon world into the Mario world. And I said, absolutely, you know what? Go off. If you want your Gengar to be like a generic Pokemon that gets isekai'd into the Mario world, then you can. So Seth described a scene with a regular, like, 30-year-old man coming home from a bad day at work, sitting down with his favorite comfort movie, which was The Big Lebowski, and pulling out his old Game Boy Color and just kind of cycling through all of his old Pokemon he played with when he was a kid. Like, this is a guy who's had a really shitty week, and so he's, like, doing everything in his power. He's, like, in his comfy chair. He's reclined. His movie is going on in the background. He's just kind of looking through nostalgia-wise and, like, looking at all of his old Pokemon. And he's like, ah, yes, Dick Fart the Gengar. I was hilarious when I was 12. And just trying to cheer himself up. And then while this poor fucker is, like, doing this to try to, like, make himself feel better, the save of his Pokemon Blue game corrupts in his hands while he's messing with it. And he cries a single tear, and the tear splashes on the screen. The guy's name is Greg, by the way. And then a Toad, whose name is also Greg, in the Mario universe. He's like the multiversal comparison of the human Greg. His Pokemon Blue copy fritzes out, which caused me to, like, scream, "Oh, my nipple!" because he had it, like, in his coat pocket, his little vest. And out shoots a Pokeball, which releases this Gengar, who is wearing a blue bathrobe, and Dick Fart the Gengar now exists in the Mario world, and we never go back to talk to Greg. We never go back to resolve what happened to poor Greg, but clearly he had a bad day, and we just never went back to it. So that was the backstory for Dick Fart the Gengar. He's just the Big Lebowski as a Gengar. He gives no fucks. He does whatever the fuck he wants. And he knows simultaneously way too much about everything, despite bring Greg as an NPC. Well, hilariously, Greg the Toad ended up being, like, the main point of, like, lore, because he was the one named Toad, so everyone interacted with Greg. But they also simultaneously hated Greg. He was my Boblin the Goblin for the night. And also they refused to have him come with them on the adventure. They got what they wanted out of Greg and then told him to fuck off. So that was That was Dick Fart the Gengar. And he was by far my favorite character in the entire thing. Seth is a hilarious role player, and he's very good at like gauging like what kind of scene you're in and what his character can do to better that scene. So even though he was chaos, he wasn't disruptive. There's a big difference between a chaotic player and a disruptive player, and Seth is not a disruptive player. He's very good at going with the flow while still causing problems. Okay, but sheesh, I did give them all permission to play whatever the fuck they wanted, so really it's on me. Which brings us to Kaiju's Boo, who played Bo Taylor, the sentient cursed sword. He wanted to be a soul who was trapped inside a sword, and he wanted to have two abilities. First of all, he wanted, in order to move around, he wanted to be able to, if someone grabs him, he wanted to consciously, like, not allow them to let go. Like, if you pick up the sword, he decides when you release him. You're stuck with him. He is glued to your body until he himself lets go. So you're cursed to hold the sword until the sword says, never mind, I'm leaving. The second thing, which I will get to, is that the curse that he actually has on him affects the people that he cuts. So if you are attacked with him, you are then equally cursed. And we'll get to what that is in a minute, because it's definitely something. The tone of the game was meant to be cutesy cute Mario, but in the first 5 minutes, Kaiju's Boo asks, hey, can I introduce myself by murdering someone? And I'm like, okay, sure. So he describes this random guy walking to town, commits Sudoku by impaling himself with the sword and then dying. And then the sword is like there, just there. And all the other players don't know that he's a sentient sword. So like Kaiju's Boo, like he kept it secret the entire time. He just described this scene, and I had like an NPC Toad like react to watching the murder take place and try to respond and like help the victim. And then like the scene faded to black and we started the game proper. So we had like 2 prequel scenes describing both the sentient sword and the presence of Dick Fart. And then the adventure proper started. It was very confusing, but I was like, well, I guess we're doing this now. So like murder is on the table now. It's a cutesy cute Mario game, but bloody murder is on the table. And I'm like, you know what? No one's gonna know about this except the players and whoever I end up telling afterwards. So fine, I'll allow this. I'm not gonna try and force them to stick to Mario canon. It's cool. It's good. If I were going to do like a game for this channel, if I were to stream a game and play it, then no, that would not have flown. That would not be acceptable. We'd have a tone. We'd have an age rating. We would stick to it. But for a home game, yeah, sure, fine. Bloodily murder the guy and then threaten to stab a Koopa. It's cool. So the actual adventure is as follows. Princess Juniper, it's her birthday, and she has been training a younger princess from a kingdom underneath hers. She's a princess in the Flower Kingdom, which is like a Mushroom Kingdom analog, but not really. It's just, it's somewhere, right? And the Flower Kingdom technically has control over a smaller kingdom within its borders called Green Land. And Green Land is currently run by a king, and his daughter is the princess, Princess Peony? Where did I put her? Yeah, Princess Peony, all right? So she's studying to be a princess under Princess Juniper. It's like a finishing school, and organizing the birthday is her final exam. So the story is that Princess Peony who's like a 13-year-old girl. She's trying to like make this the best party it can be, and they've invited the entire kingdom. And so Princess Juniper is like standing back and letting Peony figure this out, but it's not going great. Ukiki, Dick Fart, and unbeknownst to the party, also Bo Taylor, the magic sword, have all found their way to the castle way too early. The party is still being set up by a bunch of toads. And like chaos happens. Ukiki tries to like sneak in and pretend like they're supposed to be there, but everyone immediately notices like, you're a monkey, we're toads, you're not, like, this isn't how this works. Dick Fart shows up and causes general chaos. Princess Peony shows up and tries to like bribe Dick Fart by being like, listen, you can eat whatever you want from the table, but there's a big cake that we have to keep in one piece until the birthday girl shows up. So if you could not, and Dick Fart was like, you're talking this cake up a whole lot, which means I want to eat it. And Peony was like, okay, how about this? If you promise not to eat it until after the birthday girl arrives, I'll make sure you get the biggest piece. And Dick Fart was like, oh my god, I didn't even have like a good negotiating like leg up. I got everything for nothing. Like, this was the best deal I've made in my fucking life, and I've only been here for like 10 minutes. So yeah, absolutely I'll follow through on that. Juniper shows up and tries to calm down the shenanigans. There's like a monkey with a tray, and she's like, okay, monkey, you go help the piranha plant toad over there. Big Lebowski, please stop being a dick. Peony, you're doing great, honey. But why are these people here? And Peony's like, I don't know. I sent out invitations and everything. And Ukiki is like, oh, like this invitation? And hands over the invitation. And they're like, oh, there was no time on it. So I just showed up. And Princess Peony is like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, geez. That means that more people are going to start showing up and we're not even close to ready. So Princess Juniper, played by Kaiju, is like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go get the dance instructor. We're going to open the small ballroom. We're going to have the band move in there. And any early arrivals are going to have a small dance, a small impromptu dancing lesson to keep them entertained until we open the big ballroom, which we're all standing in, for the real party. Like, that's going to be like what keeps them entertained until the main event opens. And Peony rushes off to take care of that. And Juniper's like, oh, I'm so proud of her. Me and Kaiju talked earlier about Juniper and Peony having like a sisterly relationship where Peony wants to like make Juniper proud, but Juniper is already like, she's a little sister I've always wanted. I don't give a shit how well she does things. Like, she's going to hang around and I'm going to dote on her, and she's going to be a great princess. It's going to be great. So the party banters a bit more, and the cake is brought out by a pair of Koopas in... I wish I had like visuals for this, but you're just going to have to listen to me, I guess. By a pair of Koopas wearing chef's outfits. And at this point, Kaiju's Boo informs everyone that he is a sentient sword. He wasn't the guy that was murdered, because he sneaks in and tries to replace the cutting knife. Like, he wants to be the cutting knife on the cake, so that when someone goes to cut the cake, they grab him and get possessed by him instead. And he rolled, and he succeeded, so he gets to hide himself on the cake. And the Koopa Troopers bring the cake over, and Dick Fart is like, oh, hell yeah, that's the cake I was promised, like, a ridiculous amount of. And he turns to, like, Princess Juniper, and he says, yeah, no, the other princess, she promised me I could eat the entire cake, so I'm gonna do that, but also you should fire her, because that's a bad thing to promise the guests. And Juniper immediately hates Dick Fart, and Ukiki doesn't really care much. Ukiki's having the time of her life, just doing whatever. But Princess Peony comes back and sees the cake and freaks out because, again, I mentioned, let's see here. Where did I mention it? I think I wrote somewhere. Oh yeah, I was going to have an NPC named Torch, who's going to be a French Koopa chef to introduce the cake. But then the players were spending so much time interacting with each other and Greg, who I had no plans for, that I'm like, I don't need to add an extra NPC. They're doing more than enough just with themselves, and the two NPCs I've introduced, which is Princess Peony and I guess Greg, right? So yeah, the Koopas, I think I wrote somewhere, but basically the cake is actually a front. They're Trojan horsing a whole bunch of shy guys inside the cake, and the two Koopas are actually Koopa Troopas. And they reveal themselves once both Princess Peony and Princess Juniper are in... Oh, hey, Sean. Welcome. Yes, definitely NSMBW style. So the Koopa Troopers come in, and they see both princesses in the area, and they go, now? Now. And they drop the cake, and they do like a Super Sentai. They grab the shoulder of their outfits, and they rip it off to reveal they have purple shells. Pause for emphasis. None of the players understand what that means, because none of them play Mario at all. Like, they don't play Thousand Year Door, so they don't know that different colored shells can sometimes refer to different kinds of Koopa Troopas. So they're like, They're purple Koopas? ... And then I'm like, oh, right. And they both pull out like the sharp black Kamina glasses and put the sunglasses on. And they're like, you now know these are Koopa Troopas. And everyone's like, oh, it's a Perry the Platypus thing. I get it. That went over pretty well. I was very pleased with that. I enjoyed that a lot. And they say, we're here to steal the princess. So come with us and nobody gets hurt. And like 6 Shy Guys burst out of the cake. And Princess Juniper takes no shit. She immediately throws a dagger, because she had a dagger, at one of the Koopas and misses, but it's like officially initiative. The system we use has no initiative order. So it was literally someone says what they want to do, and then we roll to see if they do it. I tell them the consequence, and then I tell them what the bad guys do, and then we continue until everyone's done something fun, right? So let me try to think what the best parts were. So first of all, one of the Shy Guys immediately picks up the sword and gets fucking psionically possessed by the sword, who, I will note, isn't just a cursed sword. Bo Taylor was a very cursed sword. So whenever someone picked him up, he talked like this. And he called them mommy and daddy. And he says, oh, don't you just want to use me to stab someone? The rage rating of this chat just went way up. So he talked like this to everyone. And the people who were holding him in his hand, holding him so tightly in their hands, they had no choice but to listen to him and obey. So he asked them to, like, stab people. Gotta know! Oh my god, no! God. Hey, I didn't come up with this, alright? I just said yes, you can play that at my table. He said, can I call people mommy and daddy to make it really cursed? And I'm like, yeah, sure. You can refer to someone as mommy and daddy, and that'll be really cursed. I didn't know he was going to do the voice. And that made it so much worse. So much worse. So basically, the sword possesses a Shy Guy and uses him to go around like just randomly killing people. He offed 2 Shy Guys that way in the background before anyone else noticed. Shy Guy killed 1 Shy Guy and then Sudoku'd himself, and then got picked up by a Koopa. The Gengar is like, Dick Fart the Gengar immediately starts blasting like Chaos Rays. He had all of the Pokemon moves as spells. So he's just going to the town, just doing whatever the fuck he wants. Some Shy Guys start fist fighting with some toads. They chase the princess around. Princess Juniper pulls out her crossbow, starts firing. It's a whole thing. Ukiki had previously been ordered to go up to a higher balcony and was helping a toad who was like being swallowed by a piranha plant and pulled him out. And we roleplay the toad being like pulled out of this piranha plant and being like, oh, thank you for saving me. Holy shit. They're trying to get the princess. Oh my god, we gotta save her. And Ukiki said, absolutely. And then the player turns to me and says, am I at the edge of the balcony? And I say, yes. And the player says, Ukiki is going to just let go. And what happens, happens. And I'm like, okay. So I role-played the toad, like the smile on his face, be so grateful at being saved, fade away as the light dies in his eyes as he slow motion falls backwards over the banister. And the player says, oh, okay, he's already gone. Like, she let go and she ran. Like, that toad's by himself now. I'm like, okay. So in that case, the piranha plant reaches out in slow motion and says, no, toad. And the camera cuts away to like a far shot, and you see in normal speed the body just like go straight down and disappear from view. You hear a small thud, and then nothing else happens. We never go back to resolve that. But the player was like, yes, fantastic, amazing, this is what I wanted. So as you kept caught on, my fucking players were all sociopaths. Except for Princess Juniper, but she also was, like, ready at any second to murk a guy, so, like, I don't know, take that as you will. It's a generic D&D party, like, that's all I had at my table, that's what I had, okay? So they fight the Koopas. They fight the Shy Guys. One of the Koopas actually picks up the Toad should bounce back with a squeaky noise. I thought it would be funnier if he didn't, but absolutely yes, he should have. He absolutely should have. Let's see what else happened. So basically, they fight them off. The Shy Guys and Koopas aren't doing great. So eventually, one of the Shy Guys is like, well, we gotta fucking escape. So they pull out a comically oversized remote with a single button on it, and they press it. And again, very new Mario Brothers Wii, a giant mechanical Bowser hand comes crashing through the ceiling. And there was a moment where both Princess Juniper had found Peony in the chaos and was holding her close to protect her. And Peony had this line where she's like, "You're always protecting me, princess." And Juniper's like, "Well, yeah, it's what my job is." And so that was a big red flag, number one. I'm like, oh, thank you, player, for setting this up for me. This is going to be heart-wrenching. So the hand comes crashing through the ceiling, heading straight for the princesses. And Peony gives Juniper a small smile. And the player, IRL, I saw their pupils dilate. They were like, no! And Peony pushes Juniper out of the way. And the hand comes crashing down on top of her. Oh, hello? Princess. I'll allow it. I've been saying dick fart, so I mean, fine, I guess. Princess Peony, like the flower, Peony, thank you. Why not? I've been saying dick fart for the past hour or so, this might as well happen. Anyway, so she pushes the princess out of the way and gets kidnapped. The hand grabs her and wrenches her in the sky, and all the Shy Guys hop onto the hand and get carried off. The main Koopa leader, is kidnapped by Ukiki, who's, monk slapping the shit out of him. So they have a hostage to question, and they watch as an airship flies away with the princess. And that was the end of the initial content. I had two things they were planned that night. They ended up going to an armory to get power-ups. I actually had the paper cutout power-ups. I randomly put one of the power-up cards in the boxes, and I had them all choose one. I had 5 question mark blocks that I made, and they all got to choose one, and there was a random power-up in it. So they all got a power-up. They all got some extra Mario coins. In the game system we were playing, if they have a number between 2 and 5, and if it's a steal move, if it's cold and calculated, they roll under their number. If it's an emotional spirit roll, they roll over their number. But if they roll their number exactly, it's a success, but they also get a coin, which they can spend to activate their special ability, their final smash. So they had gotten a couple of those. I gave them all an extra one for free. They weren't really using them. They figured it out by the end that they could do that. And they were told, okay, well, there was an attack on the town at the exact same time, which is why the guards weren't all able to come to your. It was a feint. They attacked the front and then went for the castle, so all of our forces were elsewhere. We're still fighting off their initial attack. They're still going to cover the airship's escape, but they have stopped to refuel at the Bob-omb Keep just over the hill. So if we can get a group of people on foot over there to get the princess before they fly off, we might be able to get her before they cross over the border. And Princess Juniper is like, okay, well, you three are so far the best people for the job, so you three and me are going to go and get that girl back. And Greg was like, Princess, listen, if you go off without me telling you you can't, the king will probably have me executed for not trying. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to say no, and then you're going to override me because you're a princess, and then I'll do all I can do, all right? So this is just an excuse. So, no, you're not going. And Juniper was like, yes, I'm going. And Greg was like, well, good enough for me. So they get their shit, and they head out. And if you remember, I was going to introduce Kent C. Koopa from Paper Mario. I was going to very specifically attempt to recreate the mechanics of that game. So that, because it's a new mechanic. You can't really hurt him until you flip him onto his back, and then you can ram into him. So it's a whole thing of balancing your moves to make sure he's flipped before you do your strong attacks. And with 4 players in the party, I'm like, yeah, no. I'll have him trip, and yeah. Round 2, he'll attack. If a player counterattacks, any success will flip him over. I was going to introduce the gimmick. I was going to then make it harder for them to trigger the gimmick, but it would be like a whole thing, right? No, it did not. And I'm going to fucking tell you why. So, first of all, they meet Kent C., who is a super large Koopa in the middle of the woods with bottle glasses who can't see for shit. And he sounds kind of like this. And he goes, well, I can't let you through. I'm guarding this path, and I can't let you do that. I'm being paid way too much for this, but you're welcome to try and get a hit on me if you think you can. And Dick Fart the Gengar, wearing his blue bathrobe that's not tied up, by the way. The whole thing was like he's wearing a bathrobe and nothing else. And despite the fact that Gengars normally don't wear clothes, the fact that he had an untied bathrobe made him feel more naked than he would have been without it. And it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. So, so Dick Fart says, yeah, no, I'm going to use my Gengar ability to go intangible and just walk through him. So Gengar immediately fucks it up. And Kent's like, oh shit, I have to stop him. So he's trying to hit this guy, but he's a ghost, so he's intangible. And the other party members are like, okay, we'll use this to get past him. So they run underneath Kent C's legs. And I missed the bit where the sword was transferred from the Shy Guy to Ukiki. The sword, introduces himself as Bo Taylor, a talking cursed sword, and then Ukiki says, oh, okay, you're my friend now. We're getting soft tacos later, and picks the sword up. And of course, Kaiju's Boo is like, I'm not going to try and brainwash, a fellow party member, but Bo will seal himself to Ukiki's arm so she can't let go of him. And Ukiki was like, well, I guess I have this sword now, and he talks and he says things to me. And he tries to convince me to stab piranha plants on the way. So as Ukiki and Princess Juniper are choosing to run underneath Kent C's legs, Bo Taylor's player says, I want to fight Ukiki to make her wrench her hand out so that I can attempt to swipe at this guy's ankles as I go. And I said, okay, roll for it. And he rolls 2 successes, which in this system is a perfect success. Not a critical success, but a perfect success, which means that what he wanted happens exactly. So the sword shoots out while Ukiki runs and slices through Kent C's leg. But because he's Kent C. Koopa, it nicks him, but doesn't do as much damage as it probably would have if his skin wasn't so tough, but it does make him bleed. And Kent C starts to boast oh, you nicked me, huh? Well, good luck doing any serious damage. My skin is too... And the player says, I'm going to spend my inspiration coin to use my special power. Ooification. He and I previously determined that the actual curse that was on the sword was that anyone who it struck could be cursed to become a cat girl. So... Kent C. Koopa starts boasting about how he's going to defeat them all and how they can't even hurt him. But as he's telling them what he's going to do, he starts talking why did I say that? Oh, why am I talking like this? Oh no! Oh my head! Oh, I have such a big headache. Why? It feels like my head is being torn apart! And a pair of cat ears, rip out of this guy's skull. And he looks at his clawed hands that are slowly turning furry and into paws. And he's like, oh no, I'm turning into a cat girl. And at this point, the entire table is losing their fucking shit. They did not know this was happening. They didn't know it was an impossibility. They're listening to me have to roleplay this person werewolf transforming into a fucking cat girl. Before, the last thing I said, as Kent C, before we turned over to a proper combat thing, was the phrase, I'll fucking kill you! And Seth was like laid out flat. He lost his fucking mind. He thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. So they have a combat where they fight against Kent C, but between him being uoified and half the party being like, no, we're fucking gonna dip, they end up leaving him in the dust. So, like, his claws turn into cat paws. He starts swiping around. He tries to stomp on them, and they notice the bottom of his shoes now have, like a cat paws, like, ingrained into it. And he says shit like, I'm gonna stomp you into dust with my ittle-bitty boots! And it was a whole thing. They had a blast. But they did not actually fight him to defeat him. They literally just fought him until they got away, and they managed to escape the forest unharmed. Like, he didn't even get a single hit on them. They just rolled so well. And they actually ended the adventure with them exiting the forest and seeing the keep on top of the hill nearby with the airship flying above it. And at that point, like, the game, I was like, okay, we got to stop here. We're heading into territory where, like, I haven't really prepared for it. And, like, you guys kind of avoided all of the main content. I think the majority of the content I actually wrote, they either didn't need it or they bypassed it in a way that felt natural. So I'm like, okay, we've been playing for like 2.5 hours. Let's call it here, and we will we'll return in 2 weeks, Saturday after next, and we will do the keep and the airship, and then we'll save Princess Peony. Yay! Woo! So that was my adventure. Everyone had a very good time. They really enjoyed it. They're still contacting me today and being like, that was a good game, Gata. And I'm like, thank you. I know it was a good game. I made it myself. But it definitely went off the rails. We ended up not getting the Chancellor or Tort at all. The Kent C combat didn't happen. They ended up doing the forest instead of the airship. And I kind of was hoping they'd go on the airship, but they ended up just like not doing that. And none of these NPCs ended up being used at all. So I'll just save them for a future thing. It's fine. The next time we come together, what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to recreate the Koopa Bros tower. Not all the puzzles, but basically like the Bomb Tower from Paper Mario, where it's rundown keep, and they got to get to the top of it in order to fight the boss, but they have to do some puzzles in order to get up there. And when they get up to the airship, it'll just be a straight shot to where they're keeping the princess. I do need to have a new mini-boss now, because I already used Kent C. Koopa as, like, the in-between boss instead of Boom Boom. I was hoping they'd go on the airship to interact with Kent C. there and do, like, a pre-boss fight, and then he'd grab the princess and run down into the keep, but they had to chase after him. But that's neither here nor there. So that's the adventure. Yay! Woo! Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. With that said, we were playing this game with the basic Steel and Spirit rules. But now that I've gotten this under my belt, I am working on a document for a proper Mario RPG, basically from the same kind of system, but not really. This is what I am. Let me pull this up. This is actually secrets, very secrets. This is what I gave my Discord Henhouse group earlier today. This is a hack of Lasers and Feelings called Smash and Brothers. And this is a kind of like what I'm planning on doing for... Can I do full view? Is there a way to full view this? Inspect, refresh? No? No, there isn't? I guess just gotta do this then. That's fine. So this is what I've been working on today. Smash and Brothers is a hack of Lasers and Feelings, specifically meant to emulate the world of trophies from a Smash Brothers Brawl. It's very short. It's 1 page, and it has a couple of extra mechanics that I've added on top of the normal Lasers and Feelings stuff. But basically, this with a job mechanic on top of it is what I'm planning for doing with a proper Mario. I'm going to take this and expand it into a larger game. I'm thinking like Hammers and Stars or Stars and Hammers, but I'm not positive yet. Super and Brothers, I don't know. I gotta figure it out what the two things are going to be. But you can download this early in the beta version of this, if you are a donator at the $5 level or higher, or a Twitch subscriber, either or. I take Prime subs too. You'll have access to an exclusive channel in my Discord, the Hen House, where I put all of my work in progress games for people to see ahead of time. I spent most of my time working on this logo. I'm actually really proud of the logo. So like, we're just gonna kind of, yeah, we're just gonna kind of zoom in. It's a good logo, Brent. It's a good logo. Alrighty then. So that's all the content that I have planned for today. Woo! We don't really got to do a credits thing. So we didn't use any music that wasn't part of Mario. So let's go ahead and find someone to raid. Let's see who is online. Twitch. Load that up. Next week's schedule is going to be a little different. Friday, we will once again be playing on the Mercury SMP server. I have another build I want to work on. Saturday, I want to try something new. So Saturday around noon, I think I'm going to go live on the Mercury SMP server again, but explicitly for... Are you streaming, Sean? Are you streaming right now? Sean D. Walsh? Am I spelling it right? You don't appear to be live right now. Am I spelling it right? Sean D. Walsh? Yeah, I'm spelling it right. But it claims you don't exist, my boyo. It claims you don't exist. He isn't. All right, fair enough. Simple enough. But yeah, no. Saturday at noon, I want to go live on the SMP server again, but explicitly for grinding. I want to see if people just watching me mindlessly mine and collect resources in Minecraft is as interesting as the more project-oriented content we do on Fridays. Sunday afterwards, of course, we're going to be back with Mario Sunshine for more Super Sundays. Woo! I got a little jiggle for that. And we will continue with Mario Sunshine, Al Delfino, and probably do more of the port area. So, the only people who I personally know, what's Jay doing? Jay is playing AI, the Somnium Files. So let's raid Jay Kaze. Jay's a cool chap. Raid Jay Kaze. Am I spelling that right? Let's go say hello. Everyone go and blast them with cowbells and give them a good welcome. Give them a good raid. I will be seeing you guys later. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. I'll see you later in the week. I need to go hug my wife now, so I'll do that. All right. Bye, everyone. Bye.